Femi, I'd like to talk a little bit more about budgets, specifically budgeting for SEO.
Okay.
How do we calculate the cost of SEO? What determines the cost? What are the things that we need to consider, and how much money do we attach to these different items?
That is a good question. So before you create a budget for SEO, you first need to understand that there are things that you do one-off and there are things that you do ongoing. The one-off things that you do at the beginning, if you do correctly, you need to set a budget for the keyword research. Bear in mind that you're also looking at, are you going to be using an in-house team, a marketing consultant, or an agency? So the budget for an in-house team will be different to an agency and the marketing consultant. Whichever you use, you need to have a budget for keyword research. That is something that is also required for Google Ads. So your keyword research needs to work in collaboration with your paid search. Then you need to look at your budget for technical SEO. You need to look at your budget for link building. You need to look at your budget for competitor analysis. And you need to look at your budget for content production. So those are the buckets of budgets that you want to focus on.
So you've mentioned those are one-off activities.
Yeah.
I presume there's also other ongoing stuff that happens on a regular basis.
Yes, I mentioned earlier on content production. So that's something that you do ongoing. So after you've done all the initial work, you need to kind of start producing content. And with content, it's more about quality as opposed to quantity. And the number of content and link building that you need to do, which is the ongoing part of your SEO budget, will depend on the gap between you and the people that are ranking number one in your industry. So if your website is not number one on page one, you need to close that gap. So that's what you need to focus on.
What are some of the factors that determine the SEO budget?
I mentioned earlier on about the skill. So if you have the skill in-house, if you're insourcing your SEO, that would affect the budget. If you're hiring a marketing consultant, that would affect. If you're hiring an agency, it would affect. As well as the cost of your content production. Those are the things that you need to be doing ongoing. And then depending on how big your website is, there's also the technical optimization cost. Sometimes you need to look at the manpower you need from the IT team. So that cost, sometimes you need to talk to the IT team because they will be the one, they will also be involved with the SEO part of things. So that's a cost that you need to have, a conversation we need to have with the director of IT. Those are sometimes, those I believe should be included in your cost of your SEO, so you don't have delays. The reason why a lot of SEO implementation is delayed is because you're relying on other departments and you're not necessarily, they have other priorities, but if you factor that cost into your SEO, it then helps you speed up the implementation side. Yeah.
Previously, we've had conversations about in-house versus agency,
Yeah.
digital marketing and SEO and all of that. So what would be the difference in price, or is there a difference in price if you're going with an agency to manage your SEO versus an in-house team?
That's a good question. So agencies have different pricing model. So some agencies charge per hour. So they will charge anything from £70 to £180 per hour. And if they're charging on a project by project, again, that depends on the size of your website. If it's a small website or a big website, they could charge you a project between £21,000 to £35,000. And if it's a monthly retainer where you're working with them, you might sign a year or 2 years contract. The bottom end is £5,000 per month, and then the top end is as much as 25, 30,000 if it's a large website, like a website that has like 200,000 pages of products. Yeah.
Okay, and what about in-house?
In-house, you would ideally need a team of 3. So you need a SEO executive, that would be about £28,000. You need a SEO manager, that will be between 40 to 50. You need a senior SEO manager, that's between 50 to 60,000 pounds, and then you might need a head of SEO, that's between 60 to 70,000 pounds. That price differs based on industry, so it's not 100% accurate. Then you also need at least 2,000 per month on tool, because again, it depends on the size of your website. So overall, you'd be looking at least 150 to 200,000 pounds. The thing that you need to factor in is your SEO budget will be taken out of your marketing budget, and marketing budget is between 5% to 15% of your revenue. So first you need to identify what your whole marketing budget is, and then you then need to then allocate part of that budget to your paid search and then part of it to SEO. The problem I see in the industry is a lot of people will just allocate 90% of the budget on paid search and do not allocate anything to SEO, because there's that perception that SEO is free. SEO is not free, because you have to pay for the people's skills and their time and the tools. And another thing you also want to understand is SEO contributes 75% of your traffic. Paid search doesn't contribute as much. So you need to kind of balance out part of the money for SEO, part of the money for paid search. And also, paid search doesn't work in isolation of SEO, because people don't convert immediately. Sometimes people will come back to your website 3, 4, 5, as much as 9 times before they convert. So you need to make sure that your SEO is working with your paid search. So if you have any help, if you need any help setting your SEO budget and you need a marketing consultant to help you, reach out to me and I'll be glad to help you. Thank you.